Attention board members, community, and colleagues. We are approaching the end of budget season, and prior to the board's adoption of the fiscal year 24 budget, we want to make sure that all stakeholders are aware and informed of the tentative fiscal year 24 budget that is under consideration for adoption at this evening, 6:34. Today, we will review the 4 budgets under consideration for adoption, which are school nutrition, special revenue, capital, and general fund. We will look at the fund balance, multi-year budget, millage rate, and projected taxes. Since November 2022, we have had consistent and ongoing discussions on the fiscal year 24 budget. We have reviewed the budget history and discussed the budget process, budget priorities, salary enhancements, fiscal year 24 personnel and operational requests, fund balance, state funding changes, millage rate, and unfunded mandates such as the $7,620 per employee annual increase in health benefits. Last month, the board tentatively approved the fiscal year 24 budget. The board is scheduled to approve the final 24 budget and tentatively approve the fiscal year 23 millage rate of 21 at this evening, 6:34. The budget consists of 4 major funds. The first major fund is school nutrition budget. School nutrition revenue is projected to be approximately $3 million. Due to decreased sales, revenues for school nutrition have declined, and we are anticipating that general fund will need to supplement school nutrition by an additional $300,000 to balance the budget. This will bring the general fund total supplement for school nutrition to approximately $1.2 million. The largest revenue source for school nutrition is from sales, and therefore declining sales and declining enrollment negatively impact school nutrition revenue. Nutrition estimates expenditures at $3.3 million, with the biggest expense being the purchase of food and salaries and benefits. The second major fund is the special revenue fund. Special revenue funds are reimbursable grants received from the state and federal government. Special revenue budget is projected to be approximately $2.7 million, and the revenue is balanced with the expenditures. The special revenue budget has stipulations on how the funds can be used, and there is not much flexibility in these budgets. The third major fund is the capital budget. The capital budget for fiscal year 24 will consist of revenue proceeds from Slot 6, which is a 1-cent sales tax from all purchases made in DeKalb County. The anticipated revenue generated from Slot 6 is approximately $40 million over a 5-year period, or $8 million per fiscal year. Fiscal year 23 anticipated ending fund balance for capital funds $9 million, shown highlighted in blue. The $8 million anticipated revenue and the 1.9 fiscal year 23 projected ending fund balance brings the total projected revenue for capital funds to approximately $9.9 million. The fiscal year 24 capital budget is $8.6 million and includes software, textbooks, building improvements, and land improvements, including the partnership with the city of Decatur to build a running track inside Legacy Park. The projected fiscal year 24 ending fund balance for capital is $1.2 million. Capital proceeds are received monthly, so the $1.2 million, which will be the beginning fund balance for fiscal year 25, and will allow capital purchases such as textbooks and software to be made at the beginning of the fiscal year. Fourth, final, and main operating budget is the general fund. Major revenue and expenditures assumptions for fiscal year 24. General fund revenue assumptions include 2,000 salary increases from the state for earned certified positions. This equates to about 415 of the positions. The positive and negative to the side indicate that this is both a revenue and an expense. The state will give us the funds and we will expense it out in personnel. Increase in local 5 meal share contribution to QBE. To participate in the QBE program, which is a state funded program, the state deducts the equivalent of 5 meals from the district funding. The 5 meals is based on the tax I just said. The $5 million is a percentage of the tax digest. So when the tax digest grows, so does the amount required for $5 million. The red negative indicates that this is a deduction from revenue. Increased health benefits of certified employees by $7,620 per employee. For fiscal year 24, the state will fund the increase for all certified employees. So this is both a positive and a negative. Projected 7% increase in tax digest is an increase in revenue. General fund expenditure assumptions include increase of $250 per month or $1,500 for 6 months per non-certified employees for health benefits effective January 2024. The state is not covering the cost for non-certified health benefits, so this is an increase in expenditures. A little over 235 non-certified employees currently use the district's health benefits. Increased annual benefits for certified by $7,620. This is both a revenue and an expense since the state will provide funding for certified employees. $2,000 salary increase and step increase for all employees. The state will cover the $2,000 increase for 415 employees, and the district will be responsible for funding the remaining 500 employees. Personnel and operational increases for fiscal year 24 will also increase expenditures. Federal trends that are currently impacting the budget and are anticipated to continue impacting the budget include a nationwide decline in enrollment, school-age population are moving away from urban areas, decline in birth rates, inflation rates are increasing, and there are challenges in all labor markets with recruitment and retention, and economic slowdown is on the rise. All of the assumptions and trends were taken into consideration while building the fiscal year 24 general fund. The projected general fund revenue increased by $9 million from the current fiscal year 23 to 24. As discussed on the previous slide, the tax digest is projected to increase by 7%. Local other consists of funds received for tuition, surplus sales, facility rental, alcohol tax, and miscellaneous revenue. State general and other is revenue received from the state. The increase from last year is due primarily to the $2,000 salary increase for earned employees and the increase in health benefits. Total projected revenue for fiscal year 24 is approximately $9.5 million. The detailed breakdown of revenue increases is listed in the appendix. Fiscal year 24 general fund requested expenditures additions. Departments and schools are requested to submit detailed expenditure requests each fiscal year. The department or school budget owner must justify each request and tie it into one of the district's strategic goals. There were approximately $5.7 million worth of expenses requested this year. In addition, there were 6.3 increases from the salary and benefit increases. The superintendent reviewed each request, and of the $5.7 million, approximately $3.3 million are being recommended in conjunction with the $6.3 million increases for salary and benefits for fiscal year 24. Details on the $9.6 million of requests are listed in the appendix. Adding the approximately $9.6 million fiscal year 24 additions to fiscal year 23 budgeted expenditures resulted in a fiscal year 24 expenditure budget of $97. This slide is your fiscal year 24 tentative general fund budget that was approved at April's board meeting and is scheduled for final approval at this evening's board meeting. In order to balance the budget, $1.9 million, highlighted in yellow, will be taken from the fund balance, which leaves a projected ending fund balance of approximately $7.5 million. The millage rate remains the same at 21. The ending fund balance percentage is 7.65, which is higher than the minimum fund balance of 4% as required by board policy. This slide shows the fund balance percentage history from 2012 to present. As shown, the fund balance is decreasing at a rapid pace. Board policy specifies a fund balance between 4 and 15%. Ideally, 10% is a good balance for the district.
can we just pause on that for just a note that the major decline in 2020 was pandemic related? That is the point of having a fund balance, is to be able to emergency respond when emergencies happen like a pandemic. I just want to, in case anybody's wondering about that decline, this is the principal reason.
This is a snapshot of the three-year, multi-year budget. Local revenue increases by 6% each year. Other local increases by $100,000 in fiscal year 25 and $50,000 in fiscal year 26. This increase is due primarily from tuition, alcohol taxes, stop arm counter revenue, and surplus sales. QBE state funds remain the same due to declining enrollment. Until enrollment increases, the state will hold the district harmless and not take revenue from it. However, revenue will not increase until it is earned beyond the hold harmless amount. Expenses for each year include a 2% cost of living adjustment, a staff increase, and increases for non-certified health benefits for both fiscal years. Non-certified health benefits increases will be phased in over 3 years, starting with $250 per month per employee for fiscal year 24 and 25, and $100 for fiscal year 26. 5% operational increases are built in the budget for fiscal year 25, and 3% increases built in for fiscal year 26. $1.3 million will be needed from fund balance to balance the budget for fiscal year 25. And in fiscal year 26, we will add $540,000 back to the fund balance. This is based on the assumption that the millage rate remains at 21. The fund balance is above the minimum 4% as required by the board. General fund millage rate. As stated earlier, the fiscal year 23 millage rate will remain, the fiscal year 24 millage rate will remain at 21. This slide shows the millage rate history from fiscal year 2014 to present. As you can see, the millage rate varies depending on the economy and the needs of the district. Although the millage rate will remain the same, additional revenue is projected based off of a minimum of a 7% growth in the tax digest. We will not know the exact growth of the tax digest until the Board of Assessors approves the real estate value, which is tentatively scheduled for May 19th. After receipt of the tax digest from the county and determining the tax digest growth, fiscal impact on the school district, the board will make a final decision on the millage rate. There will be 3 public budget hearings in June on the millage rate before final adoption. Again, although we are not increasing the millage rate, we do anticipate a minimum increase of 7% in the tax digest. The tax within the city schools of Decatur district. For example, a 7% increase in tax digest means the value of a property has increased by 7% when compared to last year. A 7% digest growth on a property that was valued at $600,000 for the current fiscal year would mean the value of the property is now $642,000. The school district applies 50% of the value of the property to determine the assessed value. This means we take the value of the property, divide it by 2 to get the 50% assessed value, multiply the assessed value by the 21 millage rate, and this gives the school taxes per year before any exemptions. So currently, for a property value at $600,000, the annual property tax is $6,300 before any exemption. If the tax digest grows by 7%, the value of the property increases by 7%. And since the millage rate is a percentage of the assessed value, the amount of taxes you pay increases as the value of your property increases. So although we are not increasing the millage rate, for a property value at $600,000, we will receive an additional $441 in tax revenue based on the 7% increase in the value of the property. Basically, with a 7% tax digest growth, this will be an annual increase of $74 for every $100,000 value for property. This slide is your fiscal year 24 tentative budget for all 4 funds. Includes the tentative budget.
Thank you, Ms. Broom.
Yeah, any
Discussion,
questions? Yep.
any questions from the board?
I, would like to see a breakdown. I know we've done this, we've had meetings where we've kind of looked at different parts of it, but I would like to see for public consumption, a breakdown from 2019 to now about the increases, right? So if we talk about where our budget was in 2019, we were at $72 million, and we're closing in on 100. So we're at, in a 5-year window of time, the city schools educator budget has grown by 30%, which is a lot. A lot of that, just so the public understands, a lot of that is teacher salaries, teacher benefits, and things of this nature. I just would like a chart that shows that, or even a table. that
Budget
just-
or actual?
I'm sorry?
You want the budget or actual expenditure?
Go from what happened in 2019, so the actual, to what we are budgeting we're gonna do in this year. So someone can take a look at it and say, all right, I get that it's grown, this has become $30-odd million, $27 million growth in cost of this system, but half of that went to teachers, or what have you. I would just like to see it broken down in a way that we can explain it. And if we can't, right, if there's a big chunk of it, if 80% of it isn't related to instruction, that is the thing we should know as well. Now, it's not, right? Like, I think we all kind of know where those numbers are, but I think the public does. And I would like to see it broken down in a way that's able to be absorbed publicly.
We presented that at the budget primer meeting.
But I'm literally asking for a single table that says 2019, $72 million, new teachers, X number of $1 million, increases in teacher salary, X number of $1 million, I don't know,
New school.
unfunded state mandate, whatever the buckets are that are correct. We can go down it and say 2024 budget, $97 million. And so people can look and see and say, you know, yes, it's a lot higher, but I don't disagree with giving money to teachers. So what happened?
Maggie did a good job, I think, the last board meeting of presenting where the growth is for this coming budget approval, like where, you know, she broke down where that growth is. It doesn't show year over year, changes, but, I thought that was really helpful where she explained where that jump is, like where the requisitions were, where things were that she denied. But maybe, I don't know if that's something that included it. Yeah.
And literally even more rolled up, right? Like, we don't need, I think, the level of detail of, you know, position A was added for what, you know, literally at the bucket level of like teacher salary.
Anita, you presented at a meeting for Hans and James a couple months back, all that detailed information. So you can just post that to your website.
Inclusive of this budget.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Ms. Broom. Thank you, community. We'll just transition into that.
Yep.
All right,
Adjourn
we can
budget hearing and
adjourn
call
the budget at 6:49 PM. And I will call to order the school board meeting. Okay, so give me a second.
Was any action taken in executive session?
The executive session was adjourned at 6:20 PM. No action was taken during that time. No votes were taken as well. I call to order the CSD board meeting for May 9th at 6:49 PM. Thank you all for joining us this evening. At this time, I ask that everyone join me in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. At this time, all that are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Board members, are there any revisions to the agenda this evening?
None.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda for this evening?
I move to the
evening.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the agenda for this evening, please say aye. Our next agenda item is the approval of minutes from the previous board meeting. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the, April board meeting?
Move to approve the minutes for the April board meeting.
May I have a second?
Aye.
All in favor of approving the minutes from the, April board meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
The minutes for the April board meeting are now approved. Let's see, we have 3 spotlights this evening. Do you want to welcome?
Yeah, I would. We're actually going to start with Miss Sarah Garland from the Early Learning Center at College Heights. Welcome to the podium, Miss Garland. Thank you for being here tonight.
Good thing or a bad thing, I'm going to make it a good thing. So thank you, Board Chair Herman and Dr. Furman and board members. I am honored to have the opportunity to share how the College Heights school family is fostering diversity, equity, inclusion with the district's youngest learners. College Heights, we believe the work starts with us. Our goal is to nurture a more diverse and inclusive generation of young children who through their experiences of equitable learning opportunities. I do, on a personal note, want to thank Dr. Furman. Thank you for your leadership, your compassion, and advocacy for the College Heights community. Thank you for all that you have done to support early learning and for giving our school family a voice. I hope you enjoy our spotlight.
Hello from College Heights Early Childhood Learning Center. We are excited to tell you about some of the great things we are doing here at College Heights.
Here at College Heights, we believe we have a unique opportunity and also an obligation to foster a caring, equitable community to engage our youngest learners. We acknowledge the value and dignity of all students and families as we work to provide high-quality early learning experiences that affirm the importance and benefits of diversity and inclusion in that work. Developing deep and meaningful relationships with students and families is at the core of our work. And we recognize that although we may have differences, we are all valued members of this school community. Equity team at College Heights created a mission statement for our equity work. Our goal is to provide an equitable, accessible, and high-quality learning environment for all of our members and families. We need to send our efforts in dismantling harmful or inequitable practices and policies and creating a truly inclusive, multicultural school environment for adults and children. Supporting each other through growth in areas of anti-racism and inclusion, engaging in and reflecting on inclusive language and examining personal and cultural biases, embedding anti-racist and inclusionary practices within all areas of our teaching and efforts, and also closely examining developmentally appropriate materials.
Hi, I'm Brianna Bauer, pre-K teacher and this year's recipient of the Good Equity Troublemaker Award for College Heights. I believe the opportunities to teach equality in the pre-K classroom are endless. Pre-K is an underestimated opportunity to teach and normalize social learning that includes seeing and valuing diversity, understanding and navigating complex interpersonal relationships, the importance of working towards equality and justice for everyone, and how to do that work in your everyday actions. Pre-K students are just beginning to form who they are, so teachers and families looking to undo racism don't have to unteach any negative bias, but simply teach a perspective of tolerance. Building community starts at the beginning of the year, but it is continuous work. We learn it, we practice it, and we relearn it all year long. We talk about using respectful language, honoring one another, and having fun together. Pre-K is a great place to practice what it means to be in community together and how to do that. As individuals, getting to know our families helps us realize that not all families are the same, but they do have things in common, like love and care. Creating a space where people can share these values gives the children an authentic way to learn about family structures, cultures, holidays, and so much more. Food is a really rich way to explore family values and traditions. Families have cooked dishes and brought them in to share with our class, and they've also shared special recipes, which often have stories that go along with them. We created a class cookbook. Many students have even made other families' recipes at home. Families have so many opportunities to come in and be a part of our learning. For example, one of our parents came in and led a Lunar New Year activity where we worked together to create the dragon cup that's seen here. During Literacy Week in October, we read the book Ganesha's Sweet Tooth. We had a Diwali celebration and made laddu, an Indian sweet, for our parents. Families came and volunteered with us in our school garden, and we will be harvesting it and donating it next week. As part of our neighborhood and community unit, first we went on a field trip to visit the community of Oakhurst. Saw what was around. We talked about the different places and people we met and how they are connected to one another. We had a city planning meeting of our own to prioritize which businesses and services our community would need. Then we worked together to build a model community. We talked about the problems that communities face, primarily injustice and climate change. We talked about what injustice was and what it looks like in our lives, in our homes, and in our schools. The students had some amazing insights. Once they understood that the communities have problems and aren't perfect, we talked about ways to take action to make our communities better. And we took several actions as a class. One was writing to Representative Hank Johnson to encourage him to vote for the Respect for Marriage Act, because we believe that all kinds of families matter. I was so pleased to share with the class that he ended up voting for it. We were talking about community superheroes, and we had lots of different ideas, and we just wanted you to share a little bit about some of our ideas. Sound good? So this was one that we did. Remember what this one was? Black Lives Matter. Yeah, and we made some signs, right, to raise awareness. Yeah, where are our signs? On your board, yeah, on our board there. Let's see. This one was where we could go out and protest, right? Yeah. Did we get to do this one? We haven't done this one, have we? Peaceful protest. All right. Volunteering. What did we do to volunteer? Yeah, we had a great garden and we were able to plant. Did you remember what we planted? Carrots and kale, collards, right? Yeah. And what are we gonna do with that food? Donate it, just like this one. What does it mean to donate? Sometimes you can donate money, sometimes you can donate toys or other things. Okay, food. Okay, what was this one? Speaking up, yeah. Do you remember how we spoke up? Remember what we did? We wrote our letter? Yeah. Why did we write that letter? Because we wanted our lawmakers to do something. Yeah, we wanted all families, no matter what they were like, to be able to be families, right? We sent that letter off to Representative Johnson. And then this is one we work on every day, right? Hearing, yeah. Saying that we care for each other. Come visit Cottage Heights anytime.
We'll add it to the fund. All right, so, oh, no, okay, no, not ready, sorry. Oakhurst Elementary School is honestly and truly the best little school in the world, and I've had the privilege to find that out up close and personal this year by getting to be the principal at that wonderful school. When this video plays, what you're gonna hear is our school song, and it plays at every community circle, and you can hear it in the morning when you come into our buildings when we're doing crew. And that's what this presentation is about. It's about what it looks like to be crew at Oakhurst. We added some things in this year. We did career crew, where we brought in people from the community to show our kids that you could be anything. We had attorneys from the ACLU. We had energy conservationists, which I thought the kids would not enjoy, but they asked amazing questions. And we also had book buddies, where our second graders could go down and hang out with kindergartners or first graders, and first graders could hang out with second graders or kindergartners. They read to each other, they make connections, and they build friendships that don't just exist in their classroom, but throughout the school. So when you watch today, you'll get a bit of what it is that makes us so wonderful and what makes us so happy to go there every single day. To be humble, to be kind, is the giving of the peace in your mind. To a stranger, to a friend, in such a way that has no end. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are one. We are how we treat each other, nothing more. Be bold, to be brave, is the thinking that the heart can still be safe. And the darkness can come quick, dangers in the air and hanging on to you. We are love, we are one. We are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war. We are how we treat each other, nothing more. You know what it is that you see. A world big full of endless possibilities. You can only look like they look you, like you do. We are love, we are one. We are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are
2023.
I want to thank the board for having us here tonight to be able to showcase all of the great things that are happening here at Claremont Elementary. My name is Mari Gustas. I'm the assistant principal at Claremont Elementary. Also beside me, I have Jasmine Adams, our special education teacher, and I have Ms. Chanel Huff Cox, which is our nurse. At Claremont Elementary, we embody EL, expeditionary learning, lives and breathes in everything that we do at Claremont Elementary. Tonight, we're going to be showcasing the core practice, number 4, which is supporting the grand citizenship, which is one of the main focus that we've done this year for our students. Our staff boldly addresses and encourages students to use their voices to advocate against racism, sexism, heterosexism, and ableism.
During the month of February and March, students learn about social justice. Students and teachers held intensive discussions about the impact this has on their own community and the world. Classroom conversation inspired students to march from Claremont Elementary to the DeKalb History Center Museum, while proudly holding social justice signs chanted, "No justice, no peace," and "Whose street? Our street."
Our school conducts school-wide discussions entitled Spotlight on Equity. This dialogue allows our staff and students to engage in courageous conversations and lessons about race as it relates to social injustices, unconscious biases. Our students immerse themselves into books centered on topics such as race, ethnicity, and other social issues that oftentimes lead to misunderstanding and exclusion.
At Claremont, we believe that all students can think and be creative. Historically, students of color and English language learners have been overlooked for gifted services. To address this opportunity gap, our gifted teacher developed and implemented a creativity class this year. This class provides all students with activities that strengthen their critical thinking and problem-solving skills.
April 12th, we hosted a conversation of understanding. A panel consisting of parents, staff, and community members shared personal experiences that shed light on topics including race and ethnicity.
I'm also excited to tell you guys about this project that started in January with our second grade students. Me, along with our second grade students, started the first student-led podcast called the Claremont Barking Bulldog, where the students have an opportunity to express their thoughts and their opinions on things that they would like to talk about. This podcast has been put on a public platform, and we have had listeners from the United States, Israel, Kenya, Costa Rica, and Puerto Rico. So, super excited about that.
Claremont teachers and staff participated in 6 two-hour workshops entitled Transformative Educating Series, hosted by Georgia State professors Dr. Brian Williams and Dr. Rena Williams. In the learning, participants learn how to critically examine their own identity and the ways they interpret them, understand the impact of inequity as it intersects with various concepts such as race, language, intelligence, and social class in the school community, and develop an emerging understanding of strategies for identifying and addressing inequity and its root cause as they are represented in public education.
We want to give this opportune time for you to be able to see all of the great things that we're doing at Claremont Elementary. We are truly embodying the word crew, and we want to how we're truly transforming our students to be engaging and be able to have their voice make a difference in our community. At this time, we would like to showcase our video this time.
I'd like to just say real quick, I would like to take this personal time to thank Dr. Curtis Farmer, an amazing leader who helped to support this work during the time that he was our leader. So without his insight, his contributions, we would not have had the autonomy to do this as a team. So we're so appreciative of Dr. Curtis Farmer. We're forever grateful.
You can share that with us.
March on Claremont, our school equity team and the PTA DEI committee will collaborate with our students to enact a March on Decatur themed extinguishing the isms. On March 31st, the Claremont crew and our community supporters will march to the DeKalb History Center, using our voices to speak out against racism, sexism, heterosexism, and ableism.
Read Aloud is a school-wide initiative engaging students in conversations about equity, diversity, inclusion, and advocacy through literature. By acknowledging and celebrating our differences, we create a welcoming environment and find connections in our humanity.
At Claremont, we believe that all students should have exposure to lessons that access their higher order thinking and personal talents. Realizing the need to prepare and identify more students of color and English language learners for gifted services, we have created and implemented a creativity class that all students attend once per week. This class provides an opportunity for students, regardless of gifted or amplified identification, to participate in activities that further challenge and strengthen their critical thinking and problem-solving skills.
Conducting a targeted needs assessment. Equity team solicited the assistance of Georgia State University professors Dr. Brian and Raina Wade to implement the transformative educator theory. Staff is participating in training that empowers them to critically examine their own identity and develop an emerging understanding of strategies for addressing inequity and its root causes as they are represented in public education.
Introduce to you conversation of understanding. We recognize the need to facilitate conversations to shine light on these issues, particularly around race and ethnicity. Therefore, we sought a way to bring the conversation to the community, not only to educate, but also to ensure our residents feel supported and included in these important, life-changing conversations that help bridge gaps along lines of differences.
One reason why I am here in Decatur. Now, Decatur has come a long way.
My name is Jasmine Adams, and I'm one of the sponsors and directors for the Claremont Elementary Barking Bulldog Student Podcast. This podcast was created for students to connect with their Bulldog community. It gives them a platform to express their interests and thoughts on topics that they choose, and it allows them to recognize and celebrate the positive things happening in our school and community.
In Claremont, we are committed to meeting our equity needs with action by creating partnerships with district personnel, parents, and community support. Instilling the courage to fight for social justice in our schools, we will continue to empower generations to promote equity and justice.
Thank you, Claremont.
To all three of you. At this time, we'll move on to public comment. Dr. Furman, do we have any members of the public signed up to share
Yes, we
comment?
have one person signed up for public comment.
Okay, I will be sharing following board norm. As a reminder for the speaker this evening and members of the audience, public comment portion of the meeting is a time for public to address the board. It is limited to district parents, students, residents, employees, businesses, and organizations. The time limit will be 3 minutes. Person speaking will not be permitted to yield or transfer to other speakers. Comments should be addressed to the board and not to individual members. Speakers should be courteous and professional. The chair may terminate public comments that are profane, vulgar, defamatory, or disruptive. Speaker may not address confidential, student, or personnel matters, but may submit such concerns to the superintendent. Members of the board will not address persons presenting public comment or speak to the substance of any comments made during public comment. However, a member of the admin team will follow up with persons speaking at the board meeting. Dr. Furman, will you please call our speaker?
Yes, we have Marnie Grodson.
Evening. Good evening. I'm Marnie Grodson. I am a community member with parents and work here within the city, known as a community social worker. I wear that hat tonight as a parent and a community social worker. A few things I want to mention or state is, one, I wanted to thank Dr. Furman for your time and your service. I know those were not easy shoes to fill, things just rolled along, and I appreciate all the work that you have done. And I'm sure wherever you're off to, you will be a great asset. So
Thank you.
I recently noticed here that there are 3 new positions that are requested by the incoming superintendent. And I'm not sure if that's something you all are considering this evening. I'm trying to find it on my computer, but I can't. But I know it came up to about $450,000. I don't really know what those positions include, what those tasks will be, but that's a heck of a lot of money. And with a superintendent coming in who hasn't worked here within the district and has seen how things have operated, I question, is that something you're going to automatically put in without that person, Dr. Whitaker, having the experience of being here? Which leads me into talking about safety in the schools. So I work wearing a different hat, but that's not why I'm here, wearing a different hat going into the middle school and the high school. And Decatur High School changed their procedure at the front door of how parents can drop off things, access, and so on. I am hearing from students, middle school and high school, concerned about their safety as what we see what's going on in the nation. And I see it played out in anxiety, not wanting to go to school. So my question is, what are we going to do about that? I know we're without an SRO at the high school. The police department's understaffed, they're trying to work on that. But is there a creative way to have a type of SRO security person, an MOU, hire someone who is there Monday through Friday, gets to know the students, is available, brings a sense of safety? I think that's, in my opinion, more important than adding more to the district offices. 2 more things. Diane Andre is retiring, and I just wanted to put a big thank you out to her, and hope that her support that she has for the assist training continues with her moving on and someone coming in her place. Same thing with having a new superintendent, that we still have that support with the assist training, funding, but more so staff being able to come and having subs so they can be a part of that. And lastly, regarding the student center, I sat around the table in the very beginning as it was birthed. I've watched it grow. I was there before Diane came in, and I just hope that that trajectory keeps going now that we have a new superintendent, and that we recognize what is working, and maybe if something's not working, that's okay, make some changes, but not have an overhaul and disrupt because our kids need it.
Thank you. Excellent. At this time, I would turn the agenda over to Dr. Furman to share any superintendent comments you may have this evening.
Yeah, I just wanted to share very quickly, this is Teacher Appreciation Week, and our Wilson Center teams have been dedicating time to go out and support and champion for our teachers in their buildings. They're covering lunches for teachers, they're providing breakfast. We had some donut fairies at Westchester this morning, walking around and hand delivering donuts to their staff. My team went to Beacon Hill this afternoon and covered 7th grade lunch. That was so much fun. So I want to give a shout out to our teachers for their job and what they do. City Schools of Decatur has amazing faculty, staff, and teachers, and that's what makes our school system so great. And then also the Wilson Center team has done a great job of stepping up and sharing how they support our schools and teachers and showing their thanks as well. So that concludes my comments for this evening.
Excellent. Thank you. We now turn to the chair's comments and report. I don't know about you all, but April and now May are incredibly busy months in the schools, and they are also full of recognition in days and weeks. We have so many outstanding employees in this district. It makes me happy to see the PTOs, PTAs, PTS, the building leaders, community members, the businesses showing their support and appreciation for the staff. As a board, we know our employees are what make our system great. That's why we were so adamant about passing on the $2,000 state raise to all of our employees in the FY24 budget, even when the state only provides money for some of those staff members. The board tentatively approved the budget, including the raise and step increase at that April meeting, and hope to give it final approval tonight. I want to say thank you to the staff and every CSD employee for their hard work, dedication to our district, our employees. Thank you. I'd like to highlight, kind of taking the angle of there's a lot of national recognition days we have celebrated since our last meeting and a few coming up. That would be a good way to focus this. April 23rd through the 29th was National Library Week. I want to thank the media specialists and clerks and make visiting and learning in the media centers fun for all of our students. You're a big part of why so many of our students love coming to school and love reading. It is not lost on me that on all of our lower elementary sightings, there's one picture of author visits. And that's our media specialists bringing those people into the schools. And thank you for all you do. April 26th was National Administrative Professionals Day. These individuals do not get celebrated enough for the tremendous work they do. They're the backbone of the buildings of CSD. They provide the support that honestly holds everything together. May is Jewish American Heritage, Asian American Heritage, Pacific Islander, and DESE Heritage Month. The Equity Department, equity teams, and schools have done a tremendous job celebrating Heritage Months all year. For example, celebration of Jewish American Heritage, Asian American Heritage, Pacific Islander, DESE Heritage Month. Some Wilson Center staff shared awesome things about their heritage, including warm and delicious challah bread with one another. May 1st was School Lunch Hero Day. Our school nutrition staff are heroes every day. But May 1st was National School Lunch Hero Day. These individuals truly are heroes. We appreciate all you do for our students. Way to go. National Principals Day, Monday, May 1st. We want to be thankful. We got one principal at least sitting around still for the amazing job you do creating safe, inclusive environments for our students to thrive and learn. Thank you for all that you all do. May 8th through 12th is actually National Teacher Appreciation Week. The board would like to take this opportunity to thank our teachers. Thank you for the positive impact you're making on the minds, the hearts of our students. We appreciate everything you do and know that CSD employees make this district truly special. Although technically Teacher Appreciation Week, we want to keep the celebration going for the entire month of May, and I'm asking for the community's help. We're asking students, families, and community members to share a message with your CSD teacher, how they've made a positive impact on you this year. You can actually find a link on the CSD Facebook page, and it's also included in last week's follow-up newsletter. There's a great opportunity to reach out. May is also Mental Health. I told you there's a lot to recognize this month, is Mental Health Awareness Month. I'd like to highlight two examples of many of the great work happening in our schools. The Decatur Student Center at Beacon Hill ribbon cutting ceremony. They hosted a beautiful student-led ceremony. Like the center at the high school, the middle school location is a safe, relaxing place for students to receive individual group counseling for their social and emotional concerns. I want to thank everyone, Dr. Furman, Principal Thomas, everyone who's honestly made this space a possibility. Decatur Prevention Initiative Youth Action Team promoted mental health at DHS. The prevention team put together a variety of events at the high school to kick off May as Mental Health Awareness Month. Students watched mental health awareness videos, provided with resources. Thank you, DPI, for supporting our students. May 10th, tomorrow, is National School Nurse Day. One of the many things that set us apart from other school districts is we are fortunate enough to have a nurse in all of our schools. Thank you, nurses, for your central role in keeping our students healthy, safe, and ready to learn. Retirement and graduation are coming up. I want to give a special shout out to the staff retiring in the school year and to the class of 2023. Thank you to the staff that have given so much of their time, energy, and heart to the district during their time in CSD. We look forward to being part of the recognition ceremony for you all later this month. I hope you enjoy a well-deserved retirement, but if for some other reason you miss us, don't hesitate to email Ms. Walker, let her know. Always welcome back with open arms. The board also, as long as the sun isn't too bright, loves attending graduation ceremony every year. Love seeing the excitement of the students' faces, the pride and the staff and the parents. We have one board member who is excitedly looking forward to sitting up on the stage. We have just exceptional students destined to do tremendous things, and congratulations to the class of 2023, and tough times getting through, but we got there for Decatur High School. That concludes my chair's comments. At least one other board member did have something she wanted to share.
I did. Thank you, Chair. I won't take too long. I just wanted to share publicly a conversation that I've had with my fellow board members already. After long, hard thinking and prayers and thoughts and back and forth, I have decided that I will not run again for a third term. I've fulfilled two full terms, 8 years, that I've absolutely loved. I think next to being a mother, it's been one of the best decisions that I've ever made, and I have no regrets. And I want to thank my current board members for the hard work that we've been putting in together these last few years. I want to especially thank Dr. Furman for all of her hard work and stepping in superintendent during a time that was very shaky. And I was the chair at the time as well, and so she and I kind of had to build the plane while it was flying, and thanks to the rest of the board members, the staff, the community, we got through it, and I think we are better humans for it. So I just wanted to make this public. Many of you know, some may not know, that I lost my mother this past January, and so for anyone that's ever lost a parent, you know it changes things. You know, it changes how you approach decisions thereafter. And so I know that there are certain things that I'm supposed to do now that I'm excited about, and I think the time here on the board has come to an end. So for anyone who's listening who is interested in learning more about being on the board, I encourage you to reach out to me. I would love to meet with you if you have any questions. Any other board members, of course, we all would. I think being involved on this side as well as that side is very important and especially needed. So I'm definitely open to any questions that you might have. Thank you for
You're not going anywhere for 6 months. We'll be happy later.
I'm not. I will be here till December.
We now move on to consent agenda items, if I'm correct,
Yep.
for action info or discussion. These include the personnel report, school nutrition, financial reports, board policies for approval, and school nutrition contract renewals. May I have a motion to approve consent items 1 through 5?
Move to approve consent items 1 through 5.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The 5 consent items, personnel reports, school nutrition, financial reports, the board policies for approval, as well as school nutrition contract renewals, which are attached in your agenda, have been public for a while, are approved. There's an information.
Nope.
Nope.
Nothing for information.
Excellent. And the board has several action items on the agenda for this evening for discussion. Dr. Furman, do you want to take away with the first?
Our first discussion item is the final dyslexia task force report. If the board recalls, we had a lengthy presentation at the work session in April, and this is just an overview summary of that presentation. And I'm going to call Ms. Simon up to the podium to share that final executive summary with the board. And this is discussion. The board won't take any action on this report.
Good evening, esteemed board members, Superintendent Dr. Furman, City Schools of Decatur staff, families, and community friends. My name is Courtney Simon, and I provide instructional support for the CSD learning community. Dyslexia. According to the International Dyslexia Association, the definition of dyslexia is a specific learning disability that is neurobiological in origin. It is characterized by difficulties with accurate and/or fluent word recognition and by poor spelling and decoding abilities. These difficulties typically result from a deficit in the phonological component of language that is often unexpected in relation to cognitive abilities and the provision of effective classroom instruction. Secondary consequences may include problems in reading comprehension and reduced reading experience that can impede growth of vocabulary and background knowledge. The City Schools of Decatur Task Force was established to support CSD in building an informed and educated school community that proactively identifies struggling readers and delivers sustainable, equitable, and proven effective reading instruction for all students, including those who are identified as having characteristics of dyslexia and/or struggling readers to become skilled lifelong readers. As of May 2019, Governor Kemp signed Senate Bill 48 into law. Senate Bill 48 provides the identification of support for students in pre-kindergarten through second grade with dyslexia. The City Schools of Decatur was selected to be one of 7 districts selected to participate in the pilot in 2019 through 20. The district is now in its 3rd and final year of implementation. In 2024-25, statewide dyslexia screening will be a mandate. During the fall of 2022, the City Schools of Decatur Superintendent, Dr. Maggie Furman, called for a dyslexia task force to be formed in response to the district stakeholders' request for a deeper understanding of CSD's progress as a Georgia dyslexia pilot district, what it means for a student to be identified with characteristics of dyslexia, how does CSD support students with characteristics of dyslexia and struggling readers? How can CSD improve our dyslexia screening process to align with the intent outlined in SB 48? What information and resources do parents need if they have concerns with their child's reading ability? And what training, education, and resources do all teachers and leaders need to provide sustainable, equitable, and proven effective reading instruction to students diagnosed with dyslexia and struggling readers? The members of the district member criteria included CSD staff who can be decision makers, have expertise in the area of effective literacy instruction, MTSS, SPED, and SPED eligibility requirements. The other members that we had consisted of community or parent members with a knowledge of dyslexia and/or personal experience with a child exhibiting characteristics of dyslexia. The task force members included Dr. Jennifer Lindstrom, Georgia Department of Education Dyslexia Statewide Coordinator, Dr. Maggie Furman, CSD Superintendent, Courtney Simon, Director of ELA and Social Studies, Dr. Gail Hardwick, District Reading Coach, Dr. Carla Zissou, District Reading Coach, Mr. Benjamin Naval, Coordinator of Section 5 in School Psychology, Dr. Holly Brookins, Principal of Glenwood Elementary, Ms. Christine Knox, Principal of Westchester Elementary, Mr. Frank DeFilipo, Special Education Coordinator, Ms. Vera Jemison, EIP Teacher at the Tally Upper Elementary School, Ms. Brooke Reynolds, third grade teacher at the Tally Elementary School, Ms. Laura Bowman, CSD Parent, Ms. Lori Garrett, CSD Parent, Ms. Megan Swingle, CSD Parent, Ms. Patty Thornwalk, CSD Parent, and Ms. Sarah Wyman, CSD Parent. This was our process as a task force. The entire group met 4 times and created work groups that met additionally. On October 28, 2022, the team created leaning on the courageous conversation about race protocol to ensure racial equity was centered in the work. The team created the CSD Task Force Charter to provide purpose and desired outcomes to guide the work. On December 2nd, 2022, they reviewed norms, finalized the charter, and reviewed the Georgia Department of Education and CSD Dyslexia Pilot foundational documents, which are the Senate Bill 48, Executive Summary of the Georgia Dyslexia Pilot Program Implementation Analysis, Year 1, 2020 to 21, Executive Summary of the Georgia Dyslexia Pilot Program Implementation Analysis, Year 2, and the Georgia and CSD Dyslexia Timeline, in addition to the MTSS CSD Dyslexia Pilot. The teams began to identify gaps through the mandated implementation and CSD's pilot practices. Teams developed 3 groups to work on the following targeted areas. How can CSD improve our process to align with the intent outlined in SB 48? What information and resources do parents need if they have concerns with their child's reading ability and or private evaluation diagnosing their child with dyslexia? And lastly, what training, education, and resources do all teachers and leaders need to provide high-quality instruction to students diagnosed with dyslexia and or struggling with reading? Finally, during that meeting, the team discussed the creation of the final report to be delivered to the Board of Education. On January 27, 2023, the team read the CSD 21-22 Georgia Dyslexia Pilot District Profiles and shared takeaways. The work groups shared their findings to date. The team also identified presenters for the board work session in April. On March 24, 2023, Dr. Jennifer Lindstrom, Georgia Statewide Dyslexia Coordinator, shared Department of Education updates and feedback on the work group findings. The team continued to share and discuss the group work findings within the context of the strategic plan and prepared to publicly share their work. Now I am going to share the recommendations from each work group. This first group of recommendations comes from the screening work group. Based on their process, they're recommending that we utilize 2 universal screeners that together comprehensively measure all of the skill areas outlined in SB 48, phonological and phonemic awareness, sound symbol recognition, alphabet knowledge, decoding skills, rapid naming, and encoding spelling. Next, they are recommending the following screeners: Acadians and the Math Reading Fluency Dyslexia Screener, which are brief, they're 10 to 20 minutes through assessments that together measure all of the skill areas outlined by SB 48 and will give our teachers a comprehensive picture of students' skill deficits to help guide instruction and intervention. Next, they're recommending that students should not be required to have below benchmark cut line scores on both screeners, either or not both. And lastly, the screening work group is recommending an effective MTSS process that is aligned with the screening process, as they find that to be imperative. A focus should be made on targeted interventions and progress monitoring of specific skill deficit areas identified in a universal screener. Timely transition between MTSS tiers are vital, and referral for further dyslexia-specific screening with the KCEA should be clearly defined. The next group is the Teaching Learning Work Group, and these are their recommendations. Excuse me. I think it's a myth.
Can we,
Okay.
can I ask, just, can I make a clarifying point about that first set of things that we we're just looking at? I think it would be, I want to be very clear with the public what this means, because these are some pretty substantive changes, right? We are recommendations. I realize that they haven't been fully accepted, but these are the recommendations coming forward. They do involve changing a particular screener that we're using right now for one that's more comprehensive. They are capturing a substantial number of more students. That either or versus both should capture a substantially larger number of students. And then linking MTSS to that as well will definitely benefit the kids. There's a lot of words here, but I just wanted to make sure the public was very aware that these are, let me say it this way. I was a tiny bit worried that the recommendations were gonna come back easy and light touch, and instead I'm pleased to see that these are pretty substantive, direct and clear recommendations for what I view would be some pretty impressive and beneficial changes to how we do it now.
Thank you.
You can continue.
I'd like to just move on, if it's okay,
Yes.
to the teaching learning recommendations. So the teaching learning work group recommendations are as follows. Ensure literacy training is diagnostic, explicit, systematic, and cumulative. Ensure alignment across literacy professional development is high quality and has high quality instructional materials and assessments. Implement foundations with fidelity, including training for 100% of teachers, leaders, and coaches. Letters for leaders for 100% of our principals, assistant principals, and district instructional leaders by June of 2023, that is the goal. Next, they are recommending that letters training for 100% instructional coaches, meaning all of our coaches in our K-5 schools receive letters training. Wilson Reading System for grades 2 through 12 for 100% of the academic intervention and special education teachers. We have that scheduled for July of this year. For 100% of the academic intervention and special education teachers between 2024 through 25. Our last work group.
One quick point on this as well, if I may. I think we also discussed as the board in the work session that we would like some of these specific targeted goals that you have here to rise to the level of the dashboard that the board reviews vis-a-vis our strategic plan. I think that they are important enough that the board have visibility into how we are doing on those particular metrics.
Thank you. Our last work group is the Parent Resource Work Group, and these are their recommendations. Move the dyslexia information to a more intuitive location on the CSD website. Relocate it under the Teaching and Learning ELA department. Right now it's in MTSS. Redesign the dyslexia webpage to make information easier to find. Include links to internal and external resources and websites. Use graphics to clearly depict the MTSS and dyslexia screening process flow. Include information about how to advocate for students. During a robust list of frequently asked questions that will collect existing and new information into a single, easily accessible living document where questions are grouped into logical categories. And lastly, launch a communications plan in July 2023 that includes curriculum nights, coffee chats, parent communications about dyslexia screening, and more. Board, I want to thank you for being patient. Thank you for listening to the recommendations from the Dyslexia Task Force during our executive work group session. And thank you for allowing the task force to summarize the recommendations this evening. We understand that these recommendations will be shared by our current superintendent with the incoming superintendent, and then a decision, I think, will be made once the incoming superintendent confers with the assistant superintendent of teaching and learning. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, task force members who are here this evening. We appreciate all of your hard work.
I'd like to move it to discussion. If any board member has anything to say, any questions to ask, I'm sure Dr. Furman or no members of the staff can answer.
I just have a quick clarifying question. First of all, thank you for everyone's hard work and your time. I know this was a lot of work that a lot of people feel very passionately about. A quick clarifying question for SB 48. In your summary, it says that CSD should utilize universal screeners that measure all required areas of SB 48 with specificity. And looking at the Department of Education website, it just says that we should screen kindergartners to, I believe, third grade, but I don't see where it has those specific recommendations, like what those specifics could be, and I don't see where it says that we have to have 2 screeners. I understand you explained in great detail why we need 2 screeners, the limitations of the math, and why we need a cadence. I think I understand that. I probably don't understand it as well as you guys do, but I think I do understand. But where does SB 48 tell us specifically what those tests should measure? Is it on the DOE website?
In the actual.
Okay.
So there's a dyslexia handbook on, for the Department of Education, if you look in there.
I'm just looking on their website, and it just says on the DOE website that we have to have a screener for kindergarten to third grade, but it doesn't say that language that was mentioned in our feedback specifically.
Yes,
I was just trying to make them align.
It's in the dyslexia handbook that the state provided.
Okay.
It doesn't specify 2 screeners, so we did to ensure that we're.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
For a parent or anyone listening who wants it, the work session went into great detail. Got excellent presentations from several members of the task force that answered all of these questions, et cetera. I almost feel silly asking the same sets of questions again, but I don't want to, we have these work sessions for a reason. They're far more engaging and less formal, and they're great. So I want to thank you and Patty and Dr. Zizuk as well and Gail. Did I hit everyone there? No, I'm doing it. And Ben. I'm looking at Ben, so I'm not saying Ben. That's weird. I apologize, Ben. But it was Hans started jumping in to say stuff that was covered there. So I encourage anyone passionate about this to go back and look for it. Like I had questions about how are we hitting 100% by June of 2023 for principals and APs and that sort of stuff, because that happens before your timeline, and it was great to hear that. I am interested in, Dr. Sultan said something to me the other day. It was like, when did everyone start using the word fidelity? It became like the phrase for, but I would love to hear what it means for teachers to learn letters or foundations training, because we say 100% with fidelity by a certain time. That's awesome. How do we get there? How do we do it with fidelity, and how do we measure that? I think as an administrative team, I'd love to hear that and see that. I mean, because that's the tough part. Like, how do we create data for this? So if you want to answer any of those things that I said, feel free.
Go ahead.
And, them regularly, we're increasing in how often we do it. But when you say fidelity, as a teacher, right now I receive professional learning. I was a secondary person. And with that professional learning, in this case it's foundation, you can teach someone how to do something, but are they going to actually implement that practice on a regular basis? Does it become a part of their instructional toolkit?
Mm-hmm.
Are they doing it regularly? Are they monitoring the growth, the student growth, right? And you can only do that when you implement it with fidelity. You can't learn about, as the principal say, like, you can't have professional learning on a Monday and wait 3 weeks to implement the practice.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You will not see any change, and you're wasting everyone's time.
Oh, yeah.
Most importantly, the children. So it's important to do these practices regularly so the children can grow, so you can monitor it and move them to the next level.
Absolutely.
And the other thing about fidelity that's really important are these, especially with foundations, it's research-based, right? So there's been research that's done to show it's effective.
Sure.
If you're not doing it the way the research was done, it won't be you won't get the results, the effect size of the research. And so with fidelities, you want to make sure you're doing these checks, that people are doing it in the scope and sequence the publisher suggests you get the same effects.
It's measured by the data from the walkthrough, and it's measured from trackers that they use in foundation.
And then it also helps if 100% of the instructional team in the schools also knows what to look for. Yes. Exactly. So it's as if it's a plan that's well thought out, and I look forward to its implementation. Hold on, Jane. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't have any questions because Chair Herman said we had a really in-depth presentation. I'm excited as a former special ed teacher. I'm excited about the letters training for 100% of the special ed teachers in our intervention. But the presentation was great during the work session. And again, as Chair Herman said, if you are interested, I would really recommend watching that. And thank you all for your hard work and input into it.
I apologize if this was asked already, but one of the things that occurred to me afterwards I wanted to ask about was, we talk a lot about the training for letters and foundations. Is there training or metrics around the actual delivery of the assessments, the Acadians or the MAP or anything like that? And how is that delivered, and are we going to be tracking that as well?
I can speak to the KTA because the KTA screener is a screener, certain requirements you have to give it. So as psychologists, we focused on that requirement. We trained them how to give that specific test, since it is standardized and very scripted manner of administration scoring. So in terms of that screener, our psychology team did that training.
In the KTA, just remind me what that, is that the Acadians? Or what?
The KTA is the dyslexia-specific screener, dyslexia index score from that screener. So after you go through the first two screening levels to see if you're at risk, we give that measure that gives
understood.
The probability that it is dyslexia. You're showing characteristics of dyslexia after we give that test.
And so the earlier screeners, which obviously we want that to work well in order for you to be able to deliver the KTA to the kids that may have it, is there structured, standardized training for those screeners as well, or what is the process with that?
I'm sure I'm not in that area.
Yes, they train the staff on how to administer those assessments every year.
Did we do, or those MAP that are Acadians?
The test coordinators at each school.
Okay. The test coordinators in the schools are responsible for training the teachers that deliver these screeners to the kids in the classroom.
Correct. And then the literacy department helps train them on the Acadience assessment.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gail. I didn't mean to leave you out. You also did an excellent job. All right, next item up for discussion is the recommendations for budget enhancement. So the incoming Superintendent Whitaker has met with the Board of Education to review the personnel and the recommended fiscal implications to include 3 additional positions: a Chief of Communication, a Coordinator of Audit and Investigation, and Legislative Liaison Coordinator. The positions are a combination of a redistribution of current staff responsibilities in order to improve organizational effectiveness and achieve organizational excellence. The Chief of Communications position, we believe, is needed to professionalize internal and external communications for the district. The position will develop and direct the district's public relations, marketing, communications for all aspects of the district. With the launch of the district's new strategic plan, forward-looking messaging and communication planning are vital to contributing to the success of All In Decatur. The Coordinator of Audit and Investigation position, just a recommendation is needed to mitigate district risk by ensuring district policies and procedures are followed. The coordinator position allows for a streamlined approach to staff protocols and procedures related to audits and HR investigations to reduce liability and risk and promote a positive reputation both internally and externally. Finally, the Legislative Liaison Coordinator's job will be to coordinate with city, county, and state elected officials and other external stakeholders. The role will develop the district's annual legislative position and priorities, shepherding district-sponsored legislation through the legislative process. While the potential fiscal and legal impacts of laws passed by this state, the position ensures district awareness, compliance, and advocacy. The fiscal impact of the recommendation of these 3 positions, as you can see in the packet, is an additional $426,478 to the FY24 tentative budget. That would decrease the fund balance percentage of expenditures from 7.65 to 7.19%. That remains within the 4 to 15% range that Ms. Broom talked about, as specified by board policy. Non-personnel implications have also been considered and will be addressed through the reallocation of funding. And then there's a supporting document for anyone interested that is included with the item in your board packet. I present the item open for discussion or questions or comments from anyone on the board.
Wait, I feel like I should comment.
No comment?
I will lead by saying that it is one of the most frustrating parts of the board is to hear a constant set of complaints about things that the school district or the district isn't doing, and then immediately out of the other side of the mouth to hear that there's too much money being spent on the administrative side of a school district. I appreciate that quite a lot. I believe strongly, and Chief of Communications was the first one, that we need to pay people to do a job to help communicate where those positions are needed, where those positions would improve the district, et cetera. And I don't bat an eye at any of these 3 as part of a new superintendent coming in and making a wish list for things that would improve the district.
That these recommendations benefit the district and not a significant financial impact to our fund balance, 7.65 to 7.19.
I believe that the reasons that we were given from the incoming superintendent for some of these positions, she has made a very good argument about why these positions are needed. I share the concern that some may have that she hasn't quite gotten in the seat yet. Does she know how this district really runs? But from our meeting with her, it's very clear that the research has been done and there's still so much more that needs to be done. I think it's just a style of leadership for different superintendents on when they decide to bring in or change teams or change reorg, and move around. I think that's just a leadership style. And so in this particular instance, her leadership style is to look at things very hard, dig deep, and start and how she wants to start off her year and start off as she is in the superintendent with some of these things in place, so that she can continue the work that the prior administration has already started with the strategic plan. And feels very strongly that these positions will in fact strengthen the strategic plan that has been worked on so hard. So I do share the concerns. I think that those concerns were answered with our meeting with Dr. Whitaker. And I agree with Jana that the impact financially is one I think that we can bear at this point for some of the duties that these roles will be fulfilling.
And, you know, what was communicated to us is that he's not coming in just, you know, making these huge sweeping changes. You know, there's a whole section of her organizational chart, I mean, a significant section of what we have currently in place, and then her ideas that she's not even looking at, but in doing her initial walkthroughs, and she has a term for it, I can't remember.
Jim?
No, in terms of the walkthroughs that she's been doing with
Canvassing.
Canvassing, that's right. Oh, yeah.
That, these are the most significant, things that she thinks that needs to be implemented right away.
This conversation was in executive session, and the data was shared in executive session?
She had.
Curious if that's an executive session.
No, these were phone
She had phone
conversations.
conversations
Okay,
with
yeah.
board members.
And why can't the public see that data and hear that information?
The data.
I think we've asked for, data on what has been added to the budget and will be added to the budget is huge priority.
Structure doesn't also need HR. But some of the other things you.
Well, if it's the budget that I have to present to the board, I think I need to be ready to understand that, unless the board wants to take that responsibility.
We are comfortable taking that responsibility.
What's the specific question? I'm sorry.
I'm curious on the data. What specific data? You mentioned that there was data presented, and I'm just curious what data was presented to validate these.
So, go ahead.
A lot of it, the conversation was about what these positions, like this verbiage here, was what was shared, in addition to, what was shared during the organizational chart that was shared during, the interview process.
It is also absolutely the case that it is appropriate, the discussion we had with the incoming superintendent happened in executive session, and the specific information that happened and was shared in executive session is appropriate to remain there.
But yes, it's clearly separated. It is not your responsibility. It is the board recommending and supporting a modification to the budget.
I think the communications piece is one that's been a focal point from constituent stakeholders. That's been a big piece for a long time. So I think maybe tackling that is one that she wants to have in place by the start of school. I did hear that from her, that that's someone she wants to help with start of school rollout, emergency communication, social media, the press, that sort of thing. So having that person directly in place for specific sort of training duties, that sort of thing, she wants that in place, which is why she's asking for this at this point as opposed to later in the fiscal year. I think the other ones are a little bit more complicated, but I think this one in particular, she wants by start of school. That answers maybe some.
Yeah, and to reiterate what Dr. Sultan was mentioning, a lot of these topics have come up in board meetings, have come up during the interview process as well. Also, I can't remember what I was going to say, but I'll reiterate also what Jana said is we were very clear that this school and the district has done an amazing job. And so we were not looking to bring in a superintendent who would come in and completely overhaul and change and flip everything on its backside. That is not the goal of the board, nor was that the goal of the new superintendent. And so as the new superintendent starts to come in and take the baton from the current superintendent to fly with the plan that has already been created, these are some of the things that she would like to implement to strengthen what this current staff has already worked on so diligently. And I do want to make that very clear. It may not feel like that because this type of transition is very hard. It's never easy. And so I want to recognize that for the staff who may feel like they're caught in the middle of working with their current superintendent and then also being available and ready for their new superintendent. It's not an easy transition. But just know that that was not the goal of the board, to have a new superintendent come in and just wipe everything that you all have done and worked so hard on. It is to assist you into taking it to the next level, from the level that your current superintendent has been able to take you to.
All right. I think we need to vote on the enhancements or as well as the final approval of the budget. I'm looking for a motion to add those budget enhancements submitted to the FY24 budget. Do I have a movement to do so?
Move to, what am I exactly moving?
Add the FY24 budget enhancements.
Move to add the FY24 budget enhancements submitted by Dr. Whitaker.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Move on to a discussion of the final improvement of fiscal year 2024 budget.
On the board now, so you changed the budget from the tentative.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have to look at the budget.
Okay. So the enhancements done by the financial department, are you able to do that? Do we need to reschedule it? The numbers that I shared, I want to confirm with you that those numbers are accurate, and if we vote on that with the enhancement, that was prepared by your office, so to restate that 7.69 is 7.19, is that correct? And you've worked enough that we can vote on that budget then this evening? Okay. Okay. All right. Well, let me open that up for discussion. Are we fine on voting on that as the final budget for 2024 FY?
Be voting on what we see on page 104.
No, that wasn't added to.
Because it says revised tentative on the far right. Is that what it was?
Yes.
That's been added to this already?
It has.
It has.
Correct. Okay. Then I ask for a motion to pass we'll use that phrase, the revised tentative FY 2024 budget. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the revised FY 2024 budget.
Do I have a second? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, there we go. State of Department reports is the next discussion item. Yes, ma'am. Oh, you're right. Sorry about that. Thank you. Next discussion item is the tentative approval of millage rate. Are there any discussion points? Okay, ask for a motion to approve the millage rate at 21.
Move to approve, do I say tentative approval of the millage rate, FY '24?
No, you are approving the millage rate for FY '24 at 21.
I move to approve the millage rate for FY '24 at 21 mils.
Do I have a second? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes. We have approval of the millage rate. Thank you, Ms. Lanita, for jumping in there. Appreciate it. Now, the State Department reports up for discussion.
And those are just if the board has any questions about those reports, they were provided in your packet. If there are no questions, then that's the final agenda item.
Any questions about finance, information services, or operations? I guess I do have one about operations because as a parent, safety has been on my mind as well. Do you mind running just quickly? I think it was in the report about the changes to the SRO and the security officers that are coming for next year.
Sergey, was that in your annual report, the changes
If
for
they're
the?
not, that's okay. I can ask it next time, but we're hiring a few security officers for the upcoming school year, correct? Okay, that's what it, and when is their effective start date? July 1st. Okay. Okay. I just, the one parent comment got it on my mind. I think that we're all worried about safety in our schools and our school buildings right now, and so I knew that the operations budget had been changed somewhat to reflect that.
Yeah, I think that the parents are generally aware that the police department, Decatur PD, has had some challenges staffing that. And so we're kind of taking it on ourselves. That is a part of this budget, that we will be adding those 2 positions. So thank you for that.
Excellent. Any other questions about that? Okay, future dates. Next work session is '23rd at 3:30. That's a busy day, if I remember correctly. The board work session is at 3, followed immediately by the CSD retirement celebration. If anyone wants to stick around, that will be in the board work downstairs. We will have a June 13th is the next school board meeting. Any questions about any of that? Okay, I move to adjourn the May 9th City Schools of Decatur School Board meeting at 8:14 p.m. Thank you.